Hello everybody, welcome back to my channel. Sorry about Monday's upload. For some reason I've been having some problems trying to upload these videos, so they've been coming in like later and stuff. So hopefully I get that up today and this one as well up today. But today we're going to continue Solomon's story. If you remember last week, or on Monday, we talked about how Solomon built the temple. He built a fleet. He's bringing in, people are sending him money and treasures, and he was just building a beautiful city, and he's been very blessed. So today we're getting called Foreign Fame, based on 1 Kings, chapter 10, verse 1 through chapter 11, on verse 8. Solomon's fame spreads far and wide, even to the Queen of Sheba. Solomon, Solomon, all I hear are tales of the wealth and wisdom. I am going to Jerusalem and find out for myself whether the stories are true, as Queen Sheba says. The queen sets a huge caravan. She has many camels loaded with wealth, precious species, piles of gold, and many precious stones. Finally, her processions catches sight of Jerusalem. What a beautiful city! It sits on the hill like a glistening crown. And Solomon has really built into it, just gorgeous. I mean, I bet it was, just to see it at that time, must have been magnificent. The gold and just, must have been, beautiful, absolutely gorgeous. Solomon gives the queen a royal welcome. She is awestruck by the luxury of the king's palace, but she tries to test his wisdom with a riddle. What is the most certain thing in the world and the most uncertain? The most certain thing is that in this world is death, but the most uncertain is the share in the world to come. So she's trying to test his wisdom because she's heard how wise and the beautiful city that he's built, his wealth and all that, and but you may remember, God said he'd be wiser than any man before him, anybody that's before him, anybody at this time he was wiser than. So she's trying to test him with these, but with the riddle. And he comes back, and actually, the most certain thing in the world is death, and the most uncertain thing is our share in the world to come. So, really, death is the most certain thing. So, that's quite the answer, really. And if you think about how, you could answer it now that you've heard what Solomon has said, but how would you answer that before? What would you have said, without knowing the story of what Solomon has said? It proves his wisdom is greater than even ours today. Impressed with his answer, the Queen of Sheba continues to ask Solomon the hardest riddles in her land. He successfully answers all of her puzzles, then takes her for a tour of the city. Solomon shows her the beautiful temple of God and the giant marble palaces, and of the displays of the thousands of fine horses and chariots. I mean, David started all this, but Solomon really built up, the city and things. I mean, it was just incredible. And just the riches that he had, that God blessed him with, was really, helpful in this, and building it, just building the army, building their fleet, building the horses and chariots, probably better weaponry, the gold, everything. I mean, it was just incredible what they built it into. It's incredible how far it's come. When you read David, starting with David and all that, where he come from, and then coming all the way to this point of his son, Jerusalem has outgrown its old walls of defense. We're building new ones. That foreman seems to know what he is doing. You're very observant. That is Jeroboam, my chief labor foreman. When her curiosity is satisfied, the Queen of Sheba presents Solomon with gifts of gold and rare species and precious stones. When she leaves for home, impressed with his wisdom and wealth, but whereas Solomon had once used his wisdom to help God's people, now he uses it to impress foreign leaders and gain even more honor and fame. Solomon continues to build, but now the people are worried about and shocked what they see. Another temple to the idol of one of the king's foreign wives, and he used our taxes to build it. Those heathen temples have proved that Solomon is no longer asking God for guidance. There's trouble ahead for Israel. So, Solomon is wise and things like that. He has great wealth, which God's blessing with. And, instead of staying, he's praying, asking God for guidance, asking God, to bless him, for what's ahead and things. He kind of drifts away from that, using his wisdom, as right here to say, to impress other leaders, foreign leaders, and gain more honor and fame. Then one of his foreign wives, obviously, they didn't all worship God. Some of them worshiped idols. Some like golden calves, as this picture shows, a golden calf. So he builds that for her. That is almost like a slap in the face to God. You take all this money and things that he's given you, and these people are watching, and they love God, they worship God, and now he's building this golden calf for one of his foreign wives for her to worship and things. I mean, that is, it's not going to be, God's not going to put up with this much longer. I mean, we've seen even David drift away from God, and it's a shame, to really see. I mean, we see a lot of the great things that these men did and things like that, and the great honor that they had, and what God done for them and what they did for God. But a lot of people don't also remember all, the times that they turned away. Samson turned away from God, did things he wasn't supposed to. What did that end up doing? Him, his haircut, his getting his eyes burned out, and then ended up having to, push the pillars down and dying. David, ended up, doing what he did with Bathsheba. He killed a man, and, his first son, or his first child, died, and, so, and then his sons, what I mean, look what Absalom had done. He killed, here he is the great son of David, and, how much David loves God and things, and probably try to teach his children and his sons, stuff like that, how to live for him. He goes, on a rage fest, kills Amon, then starts a big old war, and then ends up getting killed himself. And here we are now, Solomon is very, he was worshiping God, he was praying to God, he, was doing all this for God, and then now he's starting to turn away because he's getting, he's getting a lot of money, he's getting, a lot of honor, he's getting a lot of fame, he's getting full of himself is really what he's getting, and, now he's building false idols, and, so he's really starting to drift away from God, like he shouldn't be. So we'll see what happens next week, and when we continue Solomon's story. I thank you guys for watching. Hopefully you learned something, and as always, take it easy. I'll catch you guys next time.